Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. Today we have a real humdinger, a show worthy of a Patreon tier, even though our relationship with that company isn't all that quite clear. My co-host today is someone that most of you know. He enjoys the IPA beer, yet his name also means in Hebrew, beloved and dear. But let me boil it down. If I told you his life story, we'd be here for ages. So let's continue with the intro and proceed with the turning of the pages. Our co-host has a beard of immense satisfaction. It's stupendous, it's wavy, and it's quite a deadly attraction. If I go over his life story, you might think it a bore, but it's his opinion of Leo Lessig that we are here to explore. He's been around the world, performing in Dubai and the city of Prague. The number of his songs are numerous, but we aren't here to talk about his catalog. This intro is almost done. Don't worry. Don't be timid, for this is a special episode that your ears have enlisted. He's the man of the hour. Why, even Hortan would feel acquainted. Why, let me ask you, how are you doing today, David?
A whole lot worse after hearing that.
Oh, man, I thought... I put a lot of work into that, dude.
I'm just kidding. That was pretty clever.
Oh, well, thank you.
I did not expect that. Oh. I did not see that coming.
And I didn't know if you guys saw this coming, audience, but today, let's just get right into it, David. We are ranking all the Dr. Seuss books. Well, no, excuse me, most of the Dr. Seuss books. So if you're watching the YouTube version of this podcast, you'll probably see on your screen a ranking tier system. And I almost wanted to rhyme that. But anyway, we have all the books that we have here, and we are going to rank them all. God, I really want to rhyme. Man, this is really hard. So anyway, David, I want to ask you to start off with what kind of spurred this topic and this discussion that we're about to have, and the ranking that is about to ensue.
You know, now that I think about it, I don't actually remember how on earth we came up with this topic, to be honest. What do you remember, Jake?
Yeah, I remember. So me and Lexi we were doing stuff on Saturday. My dad was trimming a bunch of willow trees around their house, so I was helping out with that. And we were just hauling wood back and forth and chainsaw and stuff. And we were talking, and I'm like, oh, it'd be really funny if we do like a tier list for insert book series here. And she's like, oh, that'd be really great. And then I came back and told you about it, and you're like, no, we should do Dr. Seuss. And I was like, oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
that'd be great.
That's what it was. You had mentioned a series of books by an author that I wasn't familiar with, nor did I grow up reading as a child. And then, but I remember that idea sort of was like, but what if we did Seuss?
Yeah, the Seuss, man. So we got our hands on pretty much every single book we could find, from parents, from sisters, from all of the kind. Man, this is gonna be tough not trying to rhyme. So we're gonna go through. I have my notes here, David, my ranking, and I also have my notes for each book. We went through, and I think we have a total of, gosh, David, I want to say like 40 something books, something like that.
I thought it was more like 30 something.
Yeah. Oh, we need to, before we go any further, we need to establish. So we don't have all the Dr. Seuss books. We can feasibly find every single one in our vicinity. We did happen to find quite a few PDFs online. We have most of them. I think we only had to look up, eight of them, David?
Yeah,
that were PDFs,
like that.
something like that, yeah. So we had the majority of them. We had to find about a couple more. And let me tell you what we have in store. So, man, this is going to be really tough. I want to rhyme all the time, David.
Well, you just did it right there.
I know. All right.
Resist the temptation,
the temptations, So I'm trying to see how I want to do this. So we have our tier list here. Let's go over it real quick. So at the very bottom, we have obviously F. We then have D. We then have C, B, A, S. And then we have a special tier, David. David, do you want to explain what the SS tier means?
Yes, I will explain the SS tier. So, as we all know, sometimes death takes one's political opinions and turns them over on its head. I know many a lifelong conservative who, after death, suddenly voted Democrat.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm laughing. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Like those undead Democrat voters, our dear friend, Dr. Seuss, a.k.a. Theodore Geisel. I should have said that in the other way around because Theodore Geisel is actually his name. But
yeah.
Dr. Seuss, a lifelong liberal, avowed anti-racist, anti-isolationist, anti-nationalist,
a man of the people,
has after death decided to flip the script and join the ranks of a certain Austrian painter with a Charlie Chaplin-style mustache.
Oh, yeah.
Espousing all sorts of hateful, racist dogma.
Oh, it's terrible.
Through his insidious children's book. So, in honor of this wonderful script flipping, we have a special SS tier, which stands for Super Spicy. To honor those books, which reflect Dr. Seuss's newfound hatred for those with a less than lustrous skin complexion.
Excellent description, David. Yes, so there are a few books in here that have somewhat been canceled in our modern society. I remember this happened a few years ago on the news, like, oh my God, you can't read some of the Dr. Seuss books anymore because they're absolutely racist. And I was reading through them. They're not racist in the least amount, like not even close. And they're totally fine. But there were some depictions of some people, maybe of not the, in quotes, of your famous painter, not of the Aryan race. So they're kind of depicted in a somewhat stereotypical fashion. So that's kind of my explanation of why people wanted to cancel these books. And like your painter man, they wanted to get rid of them. So they did. In fact, it was very hard to find a lot of these books. If you look online, I think I looked up Mulberry Street. Or it was either Mulberry Street or I Ran the Zoo, but one of those was like $200 on Amazon because you just can't really find it anymore. And the only people who are left that have it want to jack up the price. So there were a few I was like, that's whatever. That's fine. There's one where I'm like, it's kind of, yeah, I kind of get it, but I'm like, you don't cancel stuff over this. This was a different time period. The man was born, I think, in 1890 something, David? So, or was it 1904? I think it was
It was like 19. It was before 1910.
Yeah, because some of the first copyrights of these books, I believe, was in the 20s. I believe
30s.
The 30s. Sorry, 30s. So yeah. So and some of the more famous ones as we go along were actually in the 50s and 40s. So these are old books, guys. Just so you know. And I guess the only thing I have more to say about that is I think these books are perfectly fine for any age to be, maybe except your old ones, maybe not this book, but other than that, we should be fine. So anything else you want to talk about on that subject, David, or you just want to hop into the rankings?
Yeah, let's get it. Let's get to it.
Get into it! Yeah! Oh, yeah. Root beer! All right, let's dive into it. So the first book I'm going to bring up, David, is actually Green Eggs and Ham. So I have my notes. Let me bring up my notes, but I kind of want to get your thoughts while I look at my notes. What you think of Green Eggs and Ham? Go for it.
Green Eggs and Ham, I think, was probably one of the first Dr. Seuss books I read.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Green Eggs and Ham is great because it showcases Dr. Seuss's very tongue-twistery style.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's a very fun read. It's pretty good. My notes here, I wrote actually notes about every single book we went over. So in Green Eggs and Ham, I wrote down, this was like a week ago, I said, a book that story could be ended with the screw off Sam I am. I then wrote, man proceeds to eat green eggs and ham after they've been drenched in cold seawater. He's extremely resilient and isn't picky at all. Or the seawater got rid of the taste of the eggs and he was able to consume them joyfully. So people who don't like eggs out there, just run water over them.
Or, and here's the or, the green coloring is due to a special protective coating.
Oh,
that keeps the taste fresh from the ravages of seawater and other things.
So, David, where would you rank Green Eggs and Ham? I have my ranking here, but where would you put this wonderful book?
I would probably put it in B.
B. Okay. Well, I've written down here A. So, because I feel like out of all the other books, I feel like it does a good job with the rhyming, the story, the progression. I feel like it just ends kind of weirdly, but I would say overall a very, very solid classic.
It's definitely solid, but I wouldn't call it anything exceptional. So that's where my B ranking is coming from.
You know what? I'd say I agree with you. So let's go with B. Let's stick it right here at B, and let's hop to another one. David, you pick one out. We have a lot of them here. We also have 2 Loraxes, which we will not ignore one of them. Because he speaks for the trees. And for some frickin' reason, they're speaking Vietnamese.
Let's go with Thidwick.
Thidwick! Okay.
Thidwick's a good one.
Let me get my notes on Thidwick and my ranking. Oh, God, where did I put it? It's on the second page, I think. But what do you think of Thidwick while I find my notes?
You know, Thidwick is one. I don't think I read Thidwick as a child.
Nah, me neither. Did not read it.
Did I? I feel like I had to have read it at some point because I remember how it went before we started doing this, but I don't think I read it as a young child. I think I picked it up later somewhere along the line. I don't remember where, but so I don't have tons of nostalgia for Thidwick, but I feel it's a good one. It's got a strong anti-communism message, which I always appreciate.
Oh yeah, same here. I do find it a bit bizarre. I mean, I think it's a great book, but that ending is pretty dark. I'm not going to be honest. I was not expecting that ending that came from it. But they got what they deserve in the end. So screw the communists, as they say. So I wrote down B. But what do you think?
B.
Like, is it as good as Green Eggs and Ham, or is it worse? Basically, I
would say B. B. I would agree with B.
We'll put it behind Green Eggs and Ham, and so it's right there, right at B. Okay, so we're off to a good start.
Yeah,
I'm going to pick. Let's see. Let's do the Sleep Book.
The Sleep Book.
Yeah, the Sleep Book. And what do you think of the Sleep Book, David?
The Sleep Book. Now that's a great one. That's a great one. It's practical. Like, you know, it's essentially like read your child this when they're in bed so that they might, you know, actually fall asleep instead of fidgeting around all night. Yeah. But it combines great practicality of that every great children's book should have with some fantastic imagery. And I feel like that's really one of the greatest strengths of Dr. Seuss is the imagery. It's so bizarre and so weird and yet so captivating. It fires up the imagination. At least it did to me as a young child. Yeah. I feel like the Sleep Book definitely fits definitely belongs in the annals of great imaginative artwork as far as Dr. Seuss books go.
And in looking at things artistically here, I would say the Sleep Book is a very beautiful book. It's wonderful artwork, and I kind of like A Happy Birthday to You if you've got a chance to read that. It is beautiful watercolors just pop off this page, and it was one of the more entrancing books I've read, mostly because kind of like with all the yawning at the beginning of the story, you get a little tired as you go through it. And I think that's intentional, of course, because, well, it's called the Sleep Book. In terms of what I have to say, it's a very delightful read and fun as well. I recommend it completely. I have it here rated at B. Okay. What do you think?
I would give it A.
You would give it A?
I would give it A.
Interesting. So
I think the artwork takes it over the top for me.
I think you're correct, because I think with A up there, A
needs something a little bit special.
Yes, a special and something that makes it a classic.
Yes,
like that's what kind of like why I put Green Eggs and Ham at A, but I feel like it's not as pronounced, but also not as talented in terms of the story as some of the other ones as we're going to go through.
Yeah, Green Eggs and Ham, I feel like is iconic, but for me personally, it's more solid and not really, it doesn't really go over the top for me. But the Sleep Book, I think it goes a little bit above and beyond and gets to that A rank.
Now, before we continue, David, I do want to bring up a few things, and one of those is the reason why we didn't include all of the Dr. Seuss books. In fact, there were some. In fact, right here, actually, I made a mistake here. Put Me in the Zoo by Robert Lopshire is not a Dr. Seuss book. In fact, it's under the publishing label of Dr. Seuss, as well as other books such as the Berenstain Bears, the early releases of those, as well as stuff like My Beloved Goes Dogs Go, David. I made the decision, me and David, early on, that we would not include anything that isn't illustrated or written by Dr. Seuss. There are books that say stuff like written by Theo Lesigue, which is basically Dr. Seuss's pen name, as well as Rosetta Stone for some of the books.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Theo Lesigue, there's a few Theo Lesigue books, and there's like 1 or 2 Rosetta Stone books.
Which kind of leads us into Maybe I Should Fly a Jet by Leo. Is it Leo Lesigue or no?
Theo Lesigue.
Theo Lesigue. So let's go to maybe. What was it called? Maybe You Should Fly a Jet. Maybe You Should Be a Vet. What a terrible name. This is one of the more beginner books of Dr. Seuss, kind of like Green Eggs and Ham. So where would you put Maybe You Should Fly a Jet, David?
If I'm honest, I think D.
D, huh? Okay, well, let me see. What do I have written down for the whatchamacallit? The book that's known as... Oh my God, did I not write any notes about this? It was Maybe I Should Fly a Jet. Do I not have them written down? Let me see. Oh, wait, I didn't scroll up further enough. Sorry for the delay. Okay, here we go. I wrote lovely illustrations by Michael J. Smelling. Good variety of illustrations. Good kids book in the sense of having kids think about the future. Cute book, but what's a foice? Which I think is the last job they say in the book. Apparently, I looked it up. Apparently means sickle or scythe.
Okay, I looked it up as well. That's actually like a Portuguese word.
Oh, a Portuguese word is a foice.
I think that's an unintentional coincidence.
Yeah.
I think Dr. Seuss made up that word.
Yeah, he made up that word. So you'd say D. I actually have it pretty high. I don't know why it's so high, but I wrote it as B. But
what was the name of the guy you said did the illustrations?
The illustrations were done by Michael J. Smelling.
Okay, so that right there, his last name is how I would characterize the illustrations.
They're smelling, huh? Okay. I think D's a fine rating. I don't know why I wrote B. I think this was one of the first ones I did read, and I was like, oh, that was pretty good. I'm gonna put it as B. And then as I went along, I'm like, oh, well, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean,
let's do C. What do you think?
I could go with C. The art's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's not Seuss art, so that's definitely a knock. And the text doesn't have any hallmark Seussisms. Well, it has a few, but it's less good than some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's definitely on one of the, probably a lower ranking one for sure. So let's move on to a classic, David. Let's do Mulberry Street. I'm excited to talk about this one. In fact, let's just, I'm rating it. It's probably it's the first one I read because I didn't actually read it growing up. I was probably read to it from when I was a child at some point. I think, I had no interest in it at all. I thought it was quite boring as a kid. I read it as an adult. And I gotta say, man, it was a very special read. I was reading this and I'm like, man, first off, it's very delightful. It's a good moral story about father having his son learn a lesson about exaggeration and telling fibs. But it also conveys that imagination is good and fun, like a lot of the Seuss books do. And there's nothing wrong with imagination, just needs to be used accordingly and not used for personal boasting, is what I wrote down here. And I have it, David, at S, my first S tier.
Okay.
I want to know what you think. What's your
I would agree. As far as the qualitative assessment of it, I would agree completely. But I would put it in SS tier.
Okay, that is true. It is one of the books that was
We're not says let me one thing. I don't want to put every book that was canceled in the SS tier because for one thing that's unimaginative.
Yeah.
And for another thing, some of them were canceled for much more stupid reasons than the other one. I mean, they're all canceled for stupid reasons.
Yeah.
But some of them are much more stupid than the other ones. Mm-hmm. And some of them, while stupid, I can at least put myself in a frame of mind where I can understand that.
Mm.
And so the ones where I can actually put myself in the frame of mind where I could take on that painterly persona.
Yeah.
I want to revel in. You want to make it
goes really high for
few.
You. Is what you're saying?
So yes, we want to put it in SS because as you guys may or may not be aware, this book contains a rather special depiction of a yellow-skinned boy.
Oh my!
Wearing a very stereotypical Asian getup and eating noodles with chopsticks.
Yeah, with sticks, as is described in the book. Let me cross off Mulberry Street. I think it's incredibly special book. Whenever I read children's books or anything of the such, I have such a soft spot for lessons that it tells. But if the lesson is conveyed in a very mature way that adults can connect to, but also it's a very important lesson for kids, Mulberry Street covers all of that efficiently and effectively, especially the last couple pages. And I think it also doesn't shame imagination. Like it says, hey, it's great, it's important, and there's power in it, and kids are supposed to utilize it. In fact, adults too. But also, it brings things into focus, into reality for children as well. And that's some of the ones that I'm proud and really excited to get into as well. So I'd say Mulberry Street is part of the SS tier. I would also have to say that I'm a huge fan of this book. This was like one of the first ones I read. It's a banger. If you haven't read this book, I would highly recommend it. It's really, really good. And it only takes 15 minutes out of your day, if that. And it's definitely the top of some of the Zeus stuff. So,
and you know what's great about it too is I believe I did this research like a week ago and I already forgot. I believe that it is his first published book.
Oh, really?
No, never mind. It's not his first. His first published book was, of course, the beloved classic, Pocketbook of Boners, which we will not cover here.
Okay, fun fact. I didn't tell David before this, but David, did you know my mom, who I've gotten most of these books from for us to read, she has a copy of that?
What?
She has a copy of it. I didn't know this until like last week or the week before when she told me, and I'm like, you have it? And she's like, I do. It's on the top shelf, so you guys can never see where it was. And I was like, oh, that makes so much sense.
You mean she has
my mother
Pocketbook of Boners?
She has Pocketbook of Boners because she acquired it, I think, at like a, God forbid, probably a homeschool group from back in the day at like a book fair or something. She's like, oh, it says Zeus. And I bet you she found it and she's like, what is this? And she's like, oh, no. I bet you it was that kind of situation. But I need to talk to her more about it because I'm very intrigued to see the story behind it of how she's acquired the Pocketbook of Boners. So, which we are not going to cover today. Besides that discussion. Unfortunately. I mean, would you put it at triple S tier?
I've never read it.
Oh, me neither. So
I mean, I don't know where to rate it.
And that's a PDF I don't want to look up personally.
But just for the name alone, I'd have to put it at S tier.
S tier, man. Oh, it's a classic. So.
Or it might maybe even SS tier, depending on how spicy you view boners.
David, I kind of want to hop into a really spicy one. So let's hop straight into the God forbidden atrocity, which is You're Only Old Once.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't have this book. We had to find it online. David thankfully found a PDF of it. It was a very horribly, not you, David, it's not your fault, but the guy who uploaded did a horrible job formatting it.
Oh,
it was atrocious.
The PDF was
I couldn't read
awful.
half of the pages. Well, I could read most of the pages, but some of them were like cut off and the text was all jumbled, and so it wasn't a good reading experience, to be quite clear. However, I really did not like this book. I kind of hated it, actually, and I am going to put it at, oh God, where did I put it at? It's pretty much I put it at D, but I'm going to put it at F.
Oh, why though? It's got the ogling machine. It's got the ogling machine. That's one reason
I'm like disturbed by this book, because it's not necessarily meant for children. When he in the book.
Hold on. Okay, hold on.
One second. Let me finish. So like, I read this book and I'm like, oh, this is fine, whatever. And as I kept going through it, I'm like, man, this is like very bizarre and weird and kind of creepy, to be quite frank. If you're coming from a kid's perspective, in terms of like, it's not necessarily meant for children. However, I was reading it and I was very put off by it. The artwork also isn't that great compared to the other Seuss books. It's fine. Like, some of the other ones were far more well done. Also, the rhyming's terrible. Like, I just want to put that out there. Some of the rhyming in some of these books is atrocious, David. And that's one of the reasons why I put them lower down on the list.
Well, I think part of that is the formatting is not good.
Yeah, for example, did I not put it in here? Let me pick, what was the pet one? The one that was published in 2015. Where, I don't know if I have it on here, but anyway, so that book, Can You Find Me a Pet or whatever, I read that, and the rhyming was horrible. Now, it was written and finished. It was finished after the death of Zeus. It was published in 2015, so it's a more newer book. However, it's not very good. It's one of the much lesser, I would say, Zeus books, especially since it was ghost-written. But a lot of the illustrations, writing was from Zeus, but I think there's also a reason why he didn't include it. But let's focus on your old Only Once. David, what do you think?
Okay. So I'm not going to say it's one of the all-time grades, but I think it deserves more than F because it has some special things.
Okay.
For one, I was going to say, when you said it's not meant for children, I was going to clarify something. Okay. There's a note from the publisher in the book.
There is.
It says this, when you ask if this is a children's book, the answer is, well, not immediately.
Not immediately, yeah. Oh, I think I get that.
Yes, buy one for your child now and give it to them on their 70th birthday.
And I agree, it's very comical and funny.
So it's
for sure.
I would put it higher because it is unique. It is quite unique, and that ogling machine, you just can't. You just can't beat that ogling machine.
You can't beat that ogling machine. God, it goes front, down, bottom. I was like, whoa.
It starts off innocently enough. And this is Dr. Seuss, beloved children's author, Dr. Seuss. It starts off innocently enough. You have, some navel gazing, as you might call it.
Navel gazing. You know that. I'm a fan of that,
the doctor looking in at the old dude who is the main character's abdominal region while he's inside of this ogling machine.
Yes.
And then, all of a sudden, next page, you see the ogling machine has another doctor gazing at a much lower down part. And then you have another doctor gazing through the ogling machine at our main character patient from the feet up.
Yes, and it was a lady spying down there with the telescope.
So
from the bottom,
you just can't beat that kind of zaniness coming from a beloved children's author. So while I agree it's not a great book, I think it's a special book. So it needs to be upped a few notches.
I would agree. I did go into it and I was quite underwhelmed. Again, it wasn't a good reading experience because some of it was cut off in some pages. So it's not ideally the environment I read it, but I originally rated it a D, and I think that's where it belongs.
C.
You think it's C?
It's better than a D. It's better than a D. It's
you know what? Because of the ogling machine, let's put it lower C, like right behind maybe I Should Fly a Jet. I think that's fine.
Okay.
David, you pick one. All right, so we did Your Only Old Once. We did Thidwick. We have Green Eggs. Oh, yeah, there's a couple up here.
Let's go with the Lorax.
Oh, yes. Okay. I'm excited to talk about this. So
the Lorax is one of the more iconic Seuss books, for sure. And one, again, that I read as a young child.
Same. It's a great one, to be quite clear. I don't know if it's definitely one of the classics. I'll say what my probably like when you're talking about here's the thing. With Seuss, as an adult, there's many nostalgia for some of these books. Like, for example, if I had my way, I would rate Go Dogs Go as S tier because it's like my favorite book ever in terms of when I was a child. However, objectively speaking, it's not all that great of a book. It's a fun read. Your kids have a good time with it. It's the one that I read over and over as a child. However, as an adult, I do have to say, like, would I read this to my kids and what will I say? As well as, is it just an entertaining book? You know, some of these are great. And I would actually put the Lorax as one of the greats. So, but David, I want to know where you rank the Lorax.
So the Lorax for me, I think would have to be A.
I agree. That's where I put it too.
It's got imaginative art. It's got a story that it really kind of like brings some sort of adult perspective in a way that a child can understand, kind of a thing. It's quite clever how he managed to pull that off. And it's one of the few children's books that I can think of where it makes you feel sympathetic for the villain of the story.
Oh yeah, dude. Absolutely.
The Lorax is an absolute piece of garbage, but you feel bad for him at the end.
Yeah.
He's one of those blue-haired feminist commie types.
Oh yeah.
Those hippy-dippy tree-hugging, I speak for the trees. Well, in today's parlance, he would be speaking for all the poor, downtrodden black and brown people. He's okay. The Lorax, I think
he's more focused on environment instead of socialist, who's David. I mean, he's the Lorax.
Hold on. The Lorax is honestly what I would say one of the first white savior characters that I can remember.
But he's orange.
Yeah, but he's white on the inside.
Okay. Anything else you have to say about the Lorax? Continue. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. Well, I would have to say I was reading this last night, and I was having a thoroughly enjoyable time. I will have to say that the message, of course, is environmentalism. You must save the planet, all that good stuff. But I think it also stands out to me because it has an ending that isn't quite happy, but it ends hopeful. It's like all this bad stuff's happened. There's no good thing that came from this, but here's literally a sapling or a piece of hope for the future. And it's up to you to do it. And I think that was really beautiful. And even though I'm not a big fan of the environmentalism message or environmentalist message, which I think, it's important. We should preserve the earth and that kind of thing. But, this is a kid's book and it goes kind of crazy. So I'm going to rate it A in front of Sleep Book, if that's all right with you, because I think it really earns the classic feel and the classicness of it. And I just had regardless of the message, I thoroughly enjoy this. And I love the Lorax character in himself. And I think he's just, it's a great book, delightful read. David, let's go to A Great Day for Up. I want to know what your thoughts of this book are. Illustrated by Quentin Blake, who, fun fact, Quentin Blake illustrated, he's a famed cartoonist, but he illustrated all of the Roald Dahl books. Did you know that?
Interesting. That makes a lot of sense. Looking at the art style.
Yeah, I was looking, I'm like,
it's very similar.
Where have I seen this before? And
very similar.
I Googled his name and I'm like, holy crap, this is the guy that did all the artwork for James and the Giant Peach and the BFG, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
I have it rated as a C. I enjoyed it, but it's not a crazy good book. But what are your thoughts?
C is probably a good place for it. I mean, it's well executed.
Yeah.
The art's decent, but it lacks that Seussian spark.
Yeah, it's like it's a fine kid's book. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not amazing. What are we doing? In between these two? Or I would put it above Maybe You Can Fly a Jet, but maybe I don't know. I kind of like your old ones better.
I would put it more in the bottom part of C. It's tending towards the D's for me.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's there's nothing great about it. But speaking of swimming in sevens, as the famous Michael Huber of Easy Allies fame once said, let's go with Walking in My Pocket, David.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? My notes say nothing to really see here. It's a good book, solid C.
Let's see. I would.
Do I even have it listed? Yeah, there it is. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I could put it as a C or a high C or a low B for me.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the illustrations, the creatures are, and their names are all rather imaginative, which is always a plus for me. There's nothing really to like.
I don't think there's much to discuss about it.
Yeah, there's not really much to say about it. It's nice.
It's a fun read.
It's solid.
Yeah.
And it's got. So I would put it probably.
Let's see.
Probably low B.
Low B. Okay, we'll put it in front of Jetpack, or maybe you should find Jet. All right, David, you pick it. The next one. Do one of the longer ones. We need to get out of these beginner books. Even though some of them are pretty great. I have some Fs in here too. I can't wait to discuss with you. Yeah, this is tough.
Let's do.
What you gonna do? What you gonna do?
Let's do Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God. Okay, go ahead and talk. I got to go in my notes. Go ahead. What do you think of Oh, the Places You'll Go?
Oh, the Place You'll Go. Stone cold classic for me.
Oh, man. Stone cold. Like Steve Austin.
Alcohol fueled, too, just like Steve Austin. No.
Yeah, I highly doubt some of these were written sober. I highly doubt it. But that's part of the imagination, David. Welcome to the imagination station.
Anyway, so
got to hop in our transmogrifier and head on into the world of stuffed tigers. So anyway, sorry. Go for it.
So, for me, one of the real strengths of Dr. Seuss's books are those illustrations which sort of captivate you. Which sort of, they are imaginative, but they also feed your imagination.
Yes.
And like pretty much every page of Oh, the Places You'll Go is like this for me. Just like these beautiful illustrations that not only are very imaginative in and of themselves, but they have the ability to spark and feed imagination, especially in young children. This is one of the books that really did that for me as a child. I just read that, my mind was just like, ooh, you know. And on top of that, it's got a great, it's very well written, and it's got a great message to it.
Oh, dude, yeah.
So if I was gonna rank this, S for sure.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. My notes here, I wrote, best book I've read so far. I was expecting it to be cutesy and fun, but it took a lot of turns that I wasn't expecting with great life lessons, S+, but we'll just say S. Something I also did was, great quote, I'm afraid that sometimes you'll play lonely games too, games you can't win because you'll play against you. I think that kind of goes to some of the heart of this book as well, and one of the many lessons you can find inside it. Also has a quote, you got brains in your head, which I liked very much. So I'm going to put, where did it go? Oh, the Places You'll Go. David, where is it? I don't see it on here. I'm blind. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So we're going to put it up in S tier. It's that good. Better or worse? Or are they equal?
No, S.
Oh, S. Sorry, I was looking at SS.
It's excellent, an S tier. But it's not excellent. Spicy.
Yeah, it's not spicy, but it's pretty dang good. I think it's one of my favorites. So, let's go to the bottom of the barrel, David. With the title of 10 Apples Up on Top. What do you think of this book by Theo Lessig?
Solid D.
It's exactly where I have it. I have nothing else to say really, except it's a cute book. Not much there. Also,
yeah, I read it as a child. Yeah. But I mean, even as a kid, it's like, whatever.
Yeah.
There's really nothing much to say about it.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and put 10 apples up on top at a solid D. With 10 apples up on top, David, I want to go. Oh, I also wrote down here home invasion, damaging property, juvenile delinquents causing trouble, insurance fraud, bad ending, not conclusive. So 10 apples right in the D. So, David, you go ahead and pick the next one. What do we got? Let's pick a banger.
Let's go with If I Ran the Zoo.
Ooh, okay. Let me see where I have that written down. Oh, If I Ran the Zoo. Okay. So with this book, I will have to say it's a pretty fun read. I had such a great time reading it last night, and it was just a delightful thing. I think it's excellent and has a great sense of imagination. It feels like I was reading a classic, even though I'd never read this book before. It reminded me of Mulberry Street and Ran the Circus, which, obviously the other book counterpart, If I Ran the Circus. Oh, my stars, I'd rate it as an A.
Let's see. As far as a qualitative assessment, I would agree.
Okay.
But this is another one for the SS tier.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
This one, actually, I would put it ahead of Mulberry Street on SS tier.
Really?
Because I think this is, as far as I don't want to give away the ending, but as far as I'm concerned, I think this one is the top tier of the SS ones because it's the most spicy.
It is quite spicy.
Not only does it have a similarly stereotypical depiction of Asian people like Mulberry Street, but
it also
has some very, very interestingly drawn African pygmies.
It does, very much so. And I was actually very put off by that. I'm like, whoa, okay, that's kind of a little too much, but okay.
I mean, it's a product of its time.
It's a product of its time.
It's a product of its time, and as we know, Dr. Seuss was an avowed anti-racist.
Of course.
But that doesn't stop that magical transformation that happens in death, where you become a completely different person than you were in life.
So are you talking about the concept of avatar and Buddhism? Is that what you're talking about?
Could be,
yeah.
I mean, who knows? Really?
Governments around the world might have tapped into that, and this is how people change.
Yeah.
I might come back as a pillow one day. You never know. Okay.
You might come back as a Democrat voter.
I might. You never know. Anyway, let's. Yes, I agree. So, If I Ran the Zoo, delightful book, and I love the whole thing about. Oh wait, no, that's a circus. So never mind. It reminded me a lot of what's it called? What's it called? Scrambled egg super. I thought it was very much in that same vein of a boy going around looking for stuff and collecting things.
What's interesting is I believe Scrambled Egg Super and If I Ran the Zoo have the same protagonist.
Oh, really?
I can't remember for sure, but there are a few Seuss books that have the same boy as the protagonist, and they're all similar, and they're all very similar in that these books all share a central focus of the boastful imaginings of this young boy. And so I can't remember if the boy in this one looks exactly the same as Scrambled Egg Super.
I think he looks pretty similar. I think If I Ran the Circus looks quite different, actually, if you look at them and compare them. I read that one last night, If I Ran the Circus. And I will say, let's just go to Scrambled Egg Super after this. But what I do want to say is these books have a wonderful sense of not only imagination, but a sense of wonder and just the journey of a young boy, which I really find like attractive in terms of like the story concept. Being a man and being, if I was a young boy reading these, I'd be like, oh man, this guy's so cool and super neat and it's just a risk taker. It's everything you want to be. And it's a fantasy for sure, but I think it's really good for kids to read stuff like this where they can, embody themselves in these kind of kids. And I think I don't know, it hits home for me. Like, I love If I Ran the Circus, If I Ran the Zoo, Scrambled Egg Super. Scrambled Egg Super is just, moi. It's beautiful. It's a great book. So let's just go right over to that. So my notes for this are super duper book. Fun and enticing. Imagination couldn't be clearer. Peter T. Hooper is a gangster. Professional egg stealer. I'm ranking it an A. What do you think?
Yes, A for sure.
A for sure. I agree.
It's one of the ones that were discontinued.
Oh, yes.
But it doesn't hit that spicy mark for me.
No.
But for sure, an A.
Well,
A ranking.
I don't remember. Is there some spicy stuff in there?
That
would put it in SS, but I don't think it's SS tier, really.
No. It's, if I remember correctly, it's got the same deal as McElligot's Pool.
Oh,
it's like,
that's fine.
It's some Eskimo dudes.
Yeah,
or
it's some
whatever.
Eskimo. It's not even. It's not worth it. So
it doesn't even move. It doesn't even move the needle for me. But as far as the book is concerned, I would agree A tier.
Yeah, and for Scrambled Egg Super, the copy we have from my mother, I want to say got it from her mom because it's one of the really, really old copies of the book, and which it brings a wonderful, like, I don't know, flavor while you're reading it. And it's just all the original artwork's there. The original copyright's there. It's, I think, 54 or something like that. So I highly recommend Scrambling. If you haven't read some of these Dr. Seuss books, kind of take our list as a, did we rate it as A? Is that right?
Yeah, A.
Okay. What do you want? Where do you want it? Lorax, not Lorax, Sleep Book? Where do you want it? I'm thinking middle.
Yeah, middle's probably
let's do
good.
middle. It's a great book. Such a fun read. And the kid's like, I found all these birds and I stole from them. So it's funny how, also, I was wanting to bring this up. It's funny how environmentalism and all these things Seuss brings up and champions, but a lot of these books are about stealing from other people, taking credit from others, just like, I don't know. I think it's kind of weird.
Well, there's a certain childishness to the characters in his books, which is, he's not really condoning it, but he's not really condemning it because
kids are kids.
Exactly. And it's why we can feel so bad for the protagonist of the Lorax, because despite being a terrible communist and just one of those no good white savior types, he really has a childish mentality.
Yeah.
And you can't help but feel sorry for him and his sort of idealist outlook on things.
And that's part of, I think, the appeal of the Lorax, because it's like, yeah, he's a hard-nosed liberal, as they say, but there's such a charm to him, and I just enjoy his character so much. And the way he doesn't take no for an answer, even though he has the power probably to get rid of the Onceler, he doesn't use it. I don't know. I'm confused on that part. But anyway, I love the Lorax a lot. I don't know why. So, David, go ahead and pick the next one for us. We have this many left. Go with one of the bad ones, you think. One of the terrible ones.
Terrible ones.
Yeah, bad books. Bad books. Horrible. Atrocious. Unsavory. We'll save the unsavoriness for the SS tier. Also, David, don't forget our rule that we have, our secret rule that we have yet to bring up yet, but we will when we initiate it.
You're gonna have to remind me about that.
I will when you pick your book, and then we'll go from there.
Let's go with Mr. Brown Can Moo.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah. This book sucks.
Yeah, it's just not great.
I'm sorry, but it's bad.
Yeah, it's just not great. It's not
good
great
at all. And the kids nowadays think it's great because you can rap to it. That's why they think it's great. But it's so are a lot of other books that rhyme. So expand your horizons, guys. I'm sorry. What do you think of Mr. Brown Can Moo? Can you, David? What do you think of it? What was your first impression rereading it?
It's just it doesn't have that. It distinctly lacks that Seussian flair for me.
Really?
The illustrations, the writing, all just lack that Seussian spark.
Now, are you talking about the Zeusian spark that kind of is the more fantastical imagery, or just the sense of wonder that comes from these books?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
yes to both.
Yes to both. Okay. Which I agree. Mr. Brown, Can Moo, Can You is very realistic, of course, compared to some of the other ones we've talked about.
It's very, and it's not just realistic, it's just kind of mundane.
It's kind of just bland, honestly, I think.
And which I would put it in F tier. For me, it's worse than 10 Apples Up on Top, because 10 Apples Up on Top
absolutely worse.
At least has the excuse that Seuss only wrote it. He didn't illustrate it.
Oh, he didn't illustrate Mr. Brown? No, Apples on Top. Okay.
Yeah. But this doesn't have that excuse. He wrote and illustrated it, and both the writing and the illustrations utterly lacking.
I wrote down D when I wrote it because I thought it was pretty bad, but I didn't think it was atrociously bad. Another one we're going to bring up the next up here. But what were we going to say?
It doesn't scream like atrociously bad at you, but at the same time, a book being both written and illustrated by Dr. Seuss has no business being this lame and mundane.
I completely agree. And so I'm going to agree with you. Actually, I'm going to compromise, and I'm going to put it even lower. Mr. Brown, Can Moo, Can You is going in F tier, baby. And here are my notes that I wrote down for Mr. Brown. I have a quote here that's from the book. It says, Mr. Brown can go like a cow. What the HE double hockey sticks does that mean, David? Like, what the heck? That's so weird. I also have written down, he can go like a cork. Dibble, 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 dop. Dibble, 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 dop, dop, dop. He can go like a clock. He can tick. He can talk. He can even sizzle, sizzle. And it has an atrociously terrible ending, by the way.
Yeah, it's not good.
So let's put it where it belongs, where it's F. And this brings up my next one that I have just a very big disdain for this book, David. Let's bring up Fox and Socks.
Okay, Fox and Socks.
Yeah. So right down I have here written here, excellent tongue twister book, pinnacle of tongue twisters, I would argue even. This book is overly long. It's really long. I was very surprised. Mr. Fox's life was threatened in this book. Close to the end, Mr. Knox says while poking Fox and Socks, "No, wait a minute, Mr. Fox, Socks. Shit just got real." Wait, that's it? This was, I guess, when I ended it. I'm like, wait, that's it? This book was clever, but way too far up its own ass. F tier. What do you think of this book?
I wouldn't put it in F tier.
Really? Is it better than Mr. Brown?
It's better than Mr. Brown for sure.
No.
Fox and Socks is at least imaginative.
That is true. It is imaginative.
It has that Seussian spark.
Way better tongue twisters than Mr. Brown. That's
sure. The writing is actually, like, as far as the writing does what it's supposed to do, the artwork has some sense of imagination to it, but it's so weird and doesn't necessarily communicate anything concrete. So I'd put it in D tier.
Got a row below, and this row is. Oh wait, sorry, I gotta.
Whoa.
Sorry, I'm adding a new tier because we have some that don't belong in here. So, not Zeus. Okay,
that's not how you spell it.
Zeus? That's how you spell it.
S-E.
Is it S-E?
Yeah.
Really? Holy crap! You're right. Okay, so S-E-U. Oops. There we go. Okay. So put me in the zoo, and we just have an extra Lorax, so we'll just put it back where Lorax is for the sake of arguments. Okay, David. So where would you rank Fox and Socks?
I would say solid D tier.
Really?
It's bad.
I don't know,
but
man.
it's bad, but it has it made an attempt to be a good Seuss book.
I think it fails horribly. Like, at least it tries. Mr. Brown and Moog doesn't even try, I think.
Yeah.
I think with the writing, it kind of does, but...
Fox and Socks tries...
It tries too hard, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, really, really hard. And I kind of really felt like the Mr. Knox in the book, where he's like, "Hey, Fox and Socks, shut the F up." Like, I'm like, yes, thank you. A hero of our story. Thank you. Like, this guy is so annoying and...
Well, I think that's part of the reason. I think that's part of the reason why it's better than Mr. Brown is you're emotionally invested in it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I guess...
You start to despise this Fox guy, and you're just waiting for Mr. Knox to just take him out.
Take him out, man. Take him out back and shoot him. Like,
and once
Mr. Knox is so polite too through the whole thing.
And then once he tells him off, it's so cathartic. It's like, yes,
yeah.
It's but it lacks. The only problem with the ending is it lacks the punch of Thidwick, where all the bad characters really get their comeuppance. Mm-hmm. So that's why I wouldn't.
That's what I wanted them to do to the Fox and Socks. I wanted them to hang that guy over a mantelpiece and stuff him.
So that's why. I'm putting it. I'm not ranking it with Thidwick, even though it does kind of the same thing. It doesn't have quite the impact of Thidwick, but. Well, it's better than Mr. Brown.
Okay, yes,
it's better than Mr. Brown.
And what another point I will make in terms of your argument here is Fox and Socks is more iconic and kind of deservedly so. But honestly, there's a lot of reasons why a lot of these books. I don't know why we're having such a big argument over Fox and Socks. But what I will say is that this is a book that the public has attached itself to, kind of like a Cat in the Hat. I would say, like after Cat in the Hat, I think next people would say probably Grinch or maybe Fox and Socks. That's what I would probably, if I was the public, that's what I would bring up for Zeus. Like it'd be the second or third book I'd mention. However, I don't think it's hard because I'm conflicted with this. I don't think it deserves the notoriety that it's gotten over the years. I don't think it's that good of a book. I think Mr. Brown is slightly, well,
Mr. Brown is awful.
It's bad. It's bad. I'm not gonna give Mr. Brown any credit.
Don't even try to give Mr. Brown any props.
Screw you, Mr. Brown. And screw you, Mr. Fox. F tier for me, but we'll put it bottom of the D. I'll compromise. We'll put it at the bottom of the D. It's not as good as 10 Apples Up on Top. 10 Apples at least entertaining. And it's short, and it's not as overly long like Fox. Fox and Socks is so freaking long, man. It's like 40, 50 pages. And it's ridiculous. And I'm not mad because I can't rhyme or I can't do tongue twisters. It's not, audience, why I'm mad at it. I'm mad at it because, like, I am genuinely mad that this book is as popular as it is because it does not deserve it. There are better books up here that deserve way more credit. Hell, even Thidwick is what, Glock in my Rari, also known as Walking in My Pocket, I put as way better notoriety than Fox and maybe not Walking in My Pocket, but stuff like even your old ones and stuff like that. So every book has its place, and we are placing it in D. So, God, I'm so mad. David, make me happy. Let's pick a better one.
Speaking of iconic books, let's go with the most iconic, Cat in the Hat.
Okay, let's go with Cat in the Hat, David. So Cat in the Hat, I'm really intrigued to hear what you say. This was actually one of the last books I saved to read. I read this, and Cat in the Hat comes back last night. Like, I stayed up till about 1 a.m. reading these, and Cat in the Hat was the last one I read. So what do you think of the famous classic, The Cat in the Hat?
So I'm not gonna put it on a pedestal. But I will give it due for it's iconic for a good reason. Yeah. Even though I don't think it's necessarily as good, like it's not one of the best Dr. Seuss books by any stretch of the imagination. It is iconic for a reason.
Yeah. And I think deservedly so.
In that it sort of kickstarted the whole the Seuss sort of, like, it got the ball rolling. Yeah. In terms of Seuss's place in the children's literature world. It wasn't his first book, but it was kind of the book that sort of,
it got the ball rolling.
Ball rolling. Yeah. It sort of typifies it's sort of the archetypical Seuss book for a good reason. But I don't think it's necessarily super great. So for me,
you don't think it's super great, so where would you put it?
I would have to put it in a
because this is what we have here. Like,
I would have to put in a solid B for me.
So better than Green Eggs.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I would. I had it written as A just because I think it deserves a lot of the notoriety that it has gotten. Unlike Fox and Socks, screw that book. But again, Green Eggs and Ham, Cat in the Hat, there's a reason why people attach themselves to these classics. And I think I think everything in B right here has deservedly so, even though Thidwick's not really notoriety or that famous. I think Cat in the Hat is famous for a reason. It achieves a really well. It's also a beginner's book, which is nice. So even though I'm not saying that kind of benefits it, but I'm saying that that's probably one reason why it's attached to itself. Same with Green Eggs.
Yeah, B I think it's
fair.
solid.
I think it's fair.
It's solid, but it's definitely not as good as the ones we have in A tier right now. Lorax Scrambled Egg Super, Sleep Book, way better than Cat in the Hat.
And even if I ran the zoo, Mulberry, the places you'll go, all better, I believe, than Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
But there's something special about it. I was reading these last night and I was kind of conflicted. I'm like, you know what? Even though I don't particularly prefer to read Cat in the Hat over some of these others, I will say there's some magic to it, and I can't explain why. And I'm not really nostalgic for Cat in the Hat. Like, I've read it a couple times when I was a kid. But rereading it as an adult, I'm like, there's something about some of these Seuss books.
Are you perhaps nostalgic for that amazing Mike Myers movie?
No, hell no. Okay, so story time. There was a time where we went to Disneyland. One of the only times I ever went to Disneyland in my life. In 2007. Yeah, 8? 7? Let's just say 7. And we went to Disneyland. We had, we put the old, a little tube TV in the Suburban on our way down to LA, and we watched stuff like Samurai Jack and a bunch of DVDs, right? And a bunch of movies. We had stuff like Lady in the Water, which was out at the time. And we also had a triple pack, which included Babe, some other Balto, and then like The Cat in the Hat with Mike Myers. I was kind of bored. I was sick part of that trip, so I had to watch a lot of those DVDs. I watched every single one multiple times except for Cat in the Hat, because even the first 10 minutes I couldn't stand getting through. Like, I shut it off I think I was 10 years old at the time, and I could not stand that movie. It's horrible. It's just bad. So no, I have no nostalgic value in Cat in the Hat. Do you?
Mike Myers?
It's got Austin Powers in it.
No, not at all. Terrible movie. Awful.
What were they thinking, man? Ugh, that's rough.
I think they were trying to pull the same sort of trick that the Jim Carrey Grinch movie did, but they failed miserably.
They failed leagues, man. Well, speaking on the Cat in the Hat, let's stick on it and let's do The Cat in the Hat Comes Back. So let me get to my notes here. Oh wait, no, I don't have any notes written actually, because I think the Cat in the Hat Comes Back. When I was reading this second one, going into it, I was like, you know what? Is it as good as this first one? And it didn't get me until near the end, where I would put it about as good as the first one. But I want to know where you'd rank it. Right now, we have Cat in the Hat as B.
I would say it's more of the same.
Yeah,
which is kind of a knock. Cat in the Hat is the iconic one. So if you're gonna follow up the iconic one, you can't just follow it up with more of the same. So that kind of knocks it down a little bit.
It is more imaginative, I would say, in its sequelitis kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's that.
It's not really all that imaginative.
It's not.
Like
it's not,
the stain transferring is...
which is also reused later in one of these books as well.
The stain transferring is basically a rip from a story that was never published.
Yeah. Like in
it's in
the Bipolo Seed.
Yeah, it's in the Bipolo Seed. Yeah. So it's an old story that never got published during his lifetime, and he sort of now I might be wrong with the publishing of it, but it seems like what he did was he took that premise and applied it to Cat in the Hat Comes Back, and it's just like it's not that cool.
Well, also there's I did want to bring this up too. There's one, I think it's in If I Ran the Circus, where you have that cow that has like 100 udders and like 200 or 400 legs. You know what I'm talking about? That imagery of this cow that has so many. It's basically a bunch of cows repeated on each other. And it's in a long line. And it's like, oh, wow, it's got like 98 others. It could be 99 or whatever.
Yeah.
That like picture or the illustration of that cow that's super long, goes on for miles, is also used in a political cartoon he did back in the day during World War II, describing stuff like communism and all this kind of stuff. So, which you can actually, we have your favorite Seuss Books omnibus collection here, which has like stuff like Yertle Turtle, Your Lorax, Cat in the Hat, stuff like that. And there's actually some pictures in here if you want to flip through it one of these days where he goes over his political cartoons, and they were kind of interesting. I was like, oh, I wasn't aware of this kind of side of Seuss, but I mean, he's an activist. He's a spicy character, as we'll say nowadays, but I still like him. I'm not saying he's unlikable, but I'm just saying it's interesting how he reuses stuff in different things.
Yeah.
So Cat in the Hat comes back. We have the Cat in the Hat at B.
I would put it as C.
You wouldn't C. I would agree. So C it will be, but where in C? Do you think high C? Because I think it's better than Walking in My Pocket. Like it's more entertaining. It's better. It's more well written. There's more of a climax of the story.
I don't know. They're not really.
None of these books really are like for a story. So I think Cat in the Hat kind of edges them out in that.
Maybe. Yeah.
That's where I would put it in the high C.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Speaking of high C, I forgot to take my pills this morning. So no, I'm joking. So anyway, all right. So we did Cat in the Hat. Cat Hat comes back. One more thing I just want to say is that, reiterate, we aren't including a lot of the books that you will probably associate with Seuss, like Put Me in the Zoo, which isn't a Dr. Seuss book at all. It's just under his publishing label, which I was really bummed out with. I know I've already explained this, but I just want to make it clear for the audience. Stuff like Go Dogs Go, Because a Little Bug Went Ka-Choo, as well as Are You My Mother? Oh, God, I hate that we don't have Are You My Mother in this. It's such a good book. But that was it P.D. Eastman, David? Is that his name? Yeah. So we're not going to include any of those, unfortunately. I would put probably Go Dogs Go as number one of this bad boy. But anyway, let's move on to our next Dr. Seuss book. Let's see. I'm going to pick one out. I'm going to do, let's do the Butter Battle, David. Let's get political.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get nice and political here with the Butter Battle. So did you get a chance to read this one?
I did.
What is your thoughts of the Butter Battle? I'm quite intrigued to hear.
It's very interesting. It really is an allegory about the sort of arms race that was happening in during the Cold War. And I think it's very interesting because it's definitely an allegory for, it's a political allegory, but at the same time, it's not heavy-handed.
Really?
Well, I would say it's not, it doesn't try to like force children to like think about topics that they, can't understand, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But it brings sort of an adult topic and sort of introduces it in a way that a child could think about it, which I find is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's not particularly a great book by any stretch of the imagination, but I would refrain from putting it down in the dumps.
Really?
Just because it has that like it gives the reader something to chew on.
Well, it sure does, because it doesn't have an ending. Did you notice that? This book it's a horrible ending. Absolutely abysmal.
No. Hold on.
Okay.
It's actually the perfect ending.
Okay.
Because it was written during the time when people didn't know what was going to happen in the world.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This isn't some post Fall of the Iron Curtain sort of retrospective on the arms race. This is like, well,
like a commentary.
Each side is arming themselves, and we don't know where it's going.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I think it's pretty brilliant in that regard, because the ending, because of course we don't live in that time now, but a lot of things, history tends to repeat, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things in today's world where it's like, man, things are sort of happening and we don't know where they're going. And it's sort of, I think it's needed to have that open ending, because otherwise it wouldn't be applicable to the times in which people find themselves. That's the great thing about it, is it's specifically about it's an allegory about the Cold War arms race, but it's done in an open-ended enough way that when that last page comes in and the old grandpa character says, "Who's going to drop the bomb first? We'll see." Like, you can feel that, because you can attach that sort of anxiety to any number of things which might be happening in the world in which you, the reader, find yourself in,
Man, you got a really good case going for this book, I gotta say.
Yeah.
You have a very good very good job analyzing this thing.
So I would put it in B tier, because it's not that, from a raw analysis of like the writing and the illustration, it's not super great, but it has a sort of depth to it that most of the other mediocre ones don't have.
That's very true. Okay, so I was up really late reading this, so I was kind of like speed throughing this one, and I kind of was mad because it didn't end. It didn't have an ending, really. So I'm not going to let my emotions get caught up in this one. That's meant for Fox and Socks. So what did I write about it? Nothing really of notoriety. You kind of covered everything. Wait, it was written in... No, wait a second. David, the copyright's 1984.
Copyright's 1984?
Yeah.
That's squarely within the Cold War.
Oh, the Cold War. Sorry, Cold War. I thought you meant like... Okay, yeah, you're right. Never mind. Okay. You're good. I was trying to find a fallacy in your argument. No. So you think B. So...
Yeah.
Oh, disconnected again. Oh, well. So... It's B for you. So let me reconnect. So it's B for you. Do you think it's better than Thidwick?
I would say it's not better than Thidwick.
Okay.
I
so
would
maybe
say,
low B?
Yeah, low B.
I could do that. Yeah.
The depth of the narrative is what edges it out of mediocrity for me.
Yeah, I think the depth of message is what you just said, right?
But I wouldn't put it better than Thidwick, because Thidwick has that wonderful anti-communist message, which I love so much, and while also just being a plain better book to read.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. So while I work on that, I will put it in B, as it's worse than Thidwick in our ranking, but not worse, but just it's lower in our ranking, we'll say. So, oh God, where is it? The Butter Battle, we're going to put up here in lower Bs. So, okie dokie, David, let's hop over to the Sneetches. Sneetches. What is your opinion on Dr. Seuss's Sneetches? I mean, it's all right.
Yeah, it's all right. It's got a good message to it. But it's solid C for me.
Solid C. I completely agree, and I think that's where it belongs. It's not amazing, but it's a good book. I'm gonna put it before A Cat in the Hat, though.
Yeah.
It's better than a Glock in my Rari, or excuse me, walking in my pocket. Let's go to the foot book. Let's get that out of the way. So,
Footbook is, I would say Footbook is well written.
I would say that.
I like the writing. The illustration, kind of mid-grade for me.
Yeah.
And then also, I didn't want to know that Dr. Seuss had a foot fetish. You know?
I was very put off by this book. All my notes say right here, it says slow feet, quick feet, trick feet, sick feet. And then I wrote so sad. And now I have it rated F, but I don't know. I don't know if it deserves an F, but is it better than Mr. Brown?
It's definitely better than Mr. Brown. The writing's better for sure.
Do we want it in high F or low D? Or where do you think it should be? Hey, I rhymed it.
Probably D.
Yeah, let's do D. I hated reading this. But let's move on. Let's do one fish, two fish, red fish, blue fish.
All right.
What's your thoughts on this masterpiece?
So I think that definitely that kind of falls in the same place as Cat in the Hat for me. It's iconic, and I understand why it's iconic. But my personal opinion of it is, it's not as great as maybe the hype suggests.
I think there's a reason, again, like a lot of these books, that it is like it does deserve, I think, a lot of notoriety that it has received, but it's a good, fine book. I need to figure out where my notes are for this. I apologize. What did I rank it at? Oh, here we go. B. I rated it at a B. That's kind of high, I think.
I mean, I could agree with that. Like low B.
Like low B, yeah. We can
like worse than all the other Bs.
Worse than the Butter Battle?
Yeah. Butter Battle at least has depth to the narrative.
Man, that's funny how Butter Battle and One Two Fish, Two Fish are on the same tier. Pick the next one, David. What do we got?
Let's see. Let's do...
Oh, can we... no, you go. Sorry.
I mean, let's do the 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins.
Hey, all right. Not much to say. Definitely an older style for Seuss. More story focused without the rhyming. Still quite delightful and has a sense of wonder that is familiar to his other books he would write later in his career. I rated a solid C.
I would have to go higher than that.
Oh, really?
I'd have to say B.
B.
Yes.
I can do that. I think that's fine.
The writing, the story.
It's a good story.
And the illustration art, they're not in the normal Seussian style, but they're distinctive enough that, like, you know, when you're reading Bartholomew Cubbins, you know you're reading Bartholomew Cubbins.
Yeah, Bartholomew, baby. So, yeah. So we'll put it up here, lower B. I would say it's better than One Fish, Two Fish.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, we'll do that. All right. Let's get it over with and do the book about me. What is your opinion on this book? Because I'm not a big fan, honestly. It's very...
Is that one actually written by Dr. Seuss?
I'm pretty sure it says Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
it's the illustration. No, not illustrated. Written by. I think it was written by.
It's illustrated by someone else.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go...
I didn't write any notes about this because I just didn't really consider it as a good Dr. Seuss book.
It's solid F tier for me.
Yeah.
It's just lame.
It's lame, yeah.
It's
a cute, fun thing to do with your kid, but that's about it. That's all its purpose.
It doesn't even have the charm of Mr. Brown.
Or any of the others, I would say. And speaking of others, let's do Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are? Let's see, what did I write down for this one? It was... What do you think of the term walking in your pocket, David?
I mean, nowadays that phrase could be taken in so many different directions.
Yeah, man. Oof. Yeah. So what I remember reading about this is I enjoyed it very much. I liked it. I would probably rank it at... Oh, man, I really liked it. Wow, I rated it an A? I would say B.
Yeah, B's probably
I think
good.
B's totally fine. It's not an amazing book, but it's
I think it's
a fun read.
Yeah, it is fun.
Yeah.
It's solid, and it does have some of that quality of Seuss illustrations, which I love, in that they feed the imagination. Not to the degree that some of the other ones do, but it definitely has some of the illustrations definitely have that quality to them.
This book definitely brought me feelings of Mulberry Street and Places You'll Go. I think it actually I don't necessarily think it's up in that ranking, but I'd probably, if it was just my list, I'd put it A, but if it's both of us, I think B is totally fair. Like, it's a good book. It's not as good as the other ones, so B fits.
I'd put it kind of smack in the middle of B, too.
Okay.
Like, between Thidwick and Butter Battle.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Because I think it's important also because it also brings a sense of gratefulness to kids that I think some of the other ones don't really do or don't really strike home. So I think it serves its purpose in that, and it's beautiful, beautiful illustrations. So how lucky you are. It's number B, letter B. David, I'm going to go straight to a atrocity. Oh, say, can you say? Which I have. I don't have it here. No.
Are you sure?
Is it here? Oh, no, it's not here.
I saw it up there.
Oh, things you can think. Hop on Pop, Wacky Wednesday, Horton, People House.
It's right there.
Oh, perfect. Okay. What I wrote here is this book sucks balls, F in the chat. That's what I wrote down. That's all I really have to say about it. But what do you think?
It's another tongue twister book.
I think it's worse than Fox on Socks.
It's the writing, I think, is on par with Fox and Socks.
Yeah, meaning it's not that good. I think I'm fine with D. D would probably be appropriate.
Yeah, D's all right.
Yeah. Worse or better than Fox? Probably worse, huh?
It's right about there.
Right
so
about there,
yeah. Wherever.
Yeah. All right, David, your turn. Pick one.
Let's do On Beyond Zebra.
Oh, man, what a banger of a book. All right, On Beyond Zebra. Oh, my gosh, I have so much to say. Absolute, underrated, classic. David, it's a banger of a book with good rhyming, pace, good pace as well. I'm giving her an S for stupendous. I love this book. I just adore it. Maybe it's not as good as, say, Oh Places You'll Go or one of the stuff in the S tier. But I would say at least high A. It's better than the Lorax.
Yeah, if I was gonna rate it, I think I'd rate it an A, but I could live with an S rating.
Okay, we'll do that then. Something I loved about this book is how imaginative it was. One thing I thought was very strange about this book is all the demon and iconography in the end with all the letters. Did you notice that? I mean, it kind of. I've been replaying Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal recently, and I'm like, God, some of these symbols for the letters they create are straight out of Doom.
I'm pretty sure Dr. Seuss never saw Doom ever.
I think John Carmack might have read a Dr. Seuss book or two growing up, so maybe that's where the iconography came from. Anyway, so On Beyond Zebra, man, if you guys haven't read this book, it's a joy to read.
Unfortunately, it might be kind of hard to track down nowadays.
It's very hard to track down.
Because it's one of the ones that got discontinued. Mm-hmm. But we're not putting an SS tier because it doesn't have that super spicy spark to it. Honestly, it was canceled for probably out of all of them, probably the cancellation for On Beyond Zebra is probably the stupidest one.
It was the stupidest one. It's not even remotely racist, so I would argue. But very imaginative, a whole new alphabet, apparently, which is a fun read, and it's fun for the whole family. So, yeah, On Beyond Zebra. Let's go down to the opposite end of the spectrum, David. To, unfortunately, if I may have to say, In a People House. What is your opinion of this book?
Straight up F.
Straight up ass is what I would rate it. If we had an ass tier, that's where it goes. I'm trying to find what my notes are on this. Because I remember In a People House. I thought it was fine. It's okay. But it ain't no Shakespeare.
No.
Like the other Dr. Seuss books are. And I think I rate it in a D, I think. I think that's where I put it. I don't know, but I'm going to, whatever. We'll put it in D. Or
No.
F, sorry, F.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's enjoyable. I think there's an argument to be made. I'm going to put it after my book of me, because me book is just atrocious. So pick another one, David. What do we got?
Let's go with...
We got a couple classics in here we got to cover.
Let's go with Yertle the Turtle.
Yeah! What a classic, man. Also, not too long. Doesn't overstay its welcome. I would say that overall, it's another one of those lessons that the Seussmeister brings in. It's a classic and a fun tale, but I feel like when I was reading it, something was missing. Perhaps a pail. I'm rating it a B.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. It's got all the pieces for in place to be a classic Seuss book, but it just doesn't quite bring it all together in the way that some of the better ones do. But it's definitely a good one.
God, David, you are so freaking based with these Seuss opinions. I'm so proud of you. So we're putting it at B. I don't really care where it goes. I just think it belongs in B.
Yeah, just
maybe
right
not.
There. Maybe not on the low end.
Yeah, maybe more. Maybe like in the middle-ish.
Yeah, around Thidwick.
Yeah, let's do Thidwick. Yeah, I think it's funny how Thidwick is like really high on our list. I find it funny.
Thidwick is great. Dude.
It's a great book.
Thidwick is great.
I feel really bad for the guy, but everybody gets what they deserve. He gets peace. They get killed.
In the end, capitalism wins.
Yeah! Woo! All right. Let's go to the other side, David, and go to like the newer Dr. Seuss book, the newest Dr. Seuss book, which is What Pet Should I Get? Arguably, it doesn't even belong in this list because even though it was in concept, written, and already...
Yeah, it was written and illustrated
by Dr. Seuss. They just kind of put everything from the sketch paper and put it in a book.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on this? Because I'm kind of indifferent to it. I just don't think it's that special. I think it's fine. I think there's a reason why he didn't publish it anyway.
It's better than the likes of Mr. Brown, but it's pretty mediocre.
I would say it's probably an upper D.
Yeah, D.
Yeah.
Probably somewhere around the foot book.
Yeah, let's do that. So it's a fine kids book. It also ends on... It ends, so there's an ending.
Yeah, there's an ending.
unlike stuff that sucks, like the Foot book and Fox and Socks is an ending. But oh, can you say Mr. Brown? It all terrible stuff. So I will say, In a People House is very, very charming, David. I don't know if it belongs in F tier. Maybe low D.
I would not call it charming.
No,
I just don't.
I
don't enjoy the art. I don't enjoy the writing.
Really?
It just doesn't have any of that Seussian flair.
Okay, I agree. It doesn't have any of the Seussian flair. It feels more of like something like P.D. Eastman. It feels really a lot like that.
Yeah, it feels like a P.D. Eastman reject.
Let's say Dr. Seuss phoned this one in A People House.
Yeah, definitely.
And same thing with a book about me. That's probably just he did it for his kids and wife. So
yeah.
David, you go. Which one you want? We got a lot.
Let's get Grinchy with it.
Yeah. Oh God, I can't wait. While I scroll up to my notes, I want to say, David, what is your thoughts before we even talk about the book? What are your thoughts on the cartoon? Because you were talking about it with me earlier, and you said it kind of holds in high regard as probably the best adaptation ever of Seussian lore.
Yeah, as far as Seuss film adaptations go, the OG cartoon movie of Grinch is great. The animation really just brings to life the original Grinch illustrations. The narration is great. And then of course you have that fire song.
Oh my God!
By
and
my
it fits
boy,
so well.
by my boy Thurl Ravenscroft.
That's such a badass name. I just can't get over it. And he's such a great singer, and it's also a perfect adaptation. It like adds just enough to make it iconic, and it also does a good adaptation where it, in addition, brings more life to it. All my notes say here, David, is easy S. That's all they say, is How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
Yeah, Grinch, I would have to...
Remember, this is a book.
Yeah. I would have to rate it either S or A, so I'll give you the final call.
I think... So this is like, I read it right in the middle of all these other books, so I didn't read it the first thing or the last thing I read. I was very, very impressed from an adult's perspective of how good this book is and how good of a message it is, how good of a pacing it is. Everything just comes full circle. I think it's honestly Dr. Seuss is like magnum opus, probably, arguably, like screw Cat in the Hat. I think this is the one that really just cements him as cements in stone Zeus's Americanism and his place in American history. So let's put him in S.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's see. What else is in here? Let's go up here. I would put it...
Yeah, I would
debating.
Put it in the front. Put it in the front.
Yeah, let's put it in the front. It deserves it, man. It's that good. It's one of those... Okay, so David, when people talk about things that people hype up and they say they're some of the best stuff ever, people have described Hamilton, the musical, that way, and some people say that no matter how much you hype up that certain kind of media, there's certain kind of media out there that no matter how much you hype it up, it will meet your expectations and even surpass it. I think How the Grinch Stole Christmas is in that category.
Yes.
It is that good. Read it if you haven't, even if you're an adult.
Unlike Hamilton, which is not in that category, as much as people want to say it is.
I would put it at a solid A, low A. High B. High B. We'll say high B. It's a fine musical. But David, you're not a musical guy, so I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it being a musical automatically
brings it down. Well,
and it being like so highly praised by insufferable idiots in the media kind of sours it for me. And also it's about the guy who invented the Federal Reserve.
So there's that.
In the gutter. But this is not a musicals about founding fathers tier list. So we should get back to Seuss.
Well, speaking of musicals, let's go to McGilligut's Pool, because there is a musical based off all these books called Zeusical, if you weren't aware, David.
I was not aware of that.
And it's
I could have lived my whole life without knowing that, and I would have been just fine.
I believe it. I could be totally wrong. I believe it was written by the guy who did Phantom of the Opera, or the guy who did some other musical. But anyway, McGilligut's Pool is actually one of the songs in that musical, and it's probably the best song in all of that. It's about the little kid who's the mayor's son, who in the book wasn't the mayor's son, but he's the mayor's son in Horton Hears a Who, and he sings McGilligut's Pool. He also gets drafted in the army, so it's a very weird anti-war musical, which is very bizarre. But let's move and talk about McGilligut's Pool. I love Zeusical regardless, but we're not here talking about musicals. We're talking about Zeus, baby. So McGilligut's Pool. David, what are your thoughts?
I would put this... I would have to say it's a very good book.
Very good book. Yeah, I agree.
It kind of follows the classic pattern set by Mulberry Street, where it's, young boy doing a bunch of imaginative boasting, as young boys often do.
Yeah.
And so each locale that he sort of dreams up is great. The writing's good.
Yeah.
I would put this probably high B or low A.
I think I'm going to enact my rule, David. It's so late in the game. I'm going to enact it. I'm going to use my free pass that we talked about. You know what I'm talking about here?
I mean, you can use that if you want. I don't really care.
Well, you get one too. So you can pick you get to pick wherever. So basically, the rule is we each get a free pass where we can pick wherever we want the book to be. I have Gelliott's Pool written down as an S.
Sure, why not?
I think I'm going to put it in. I'll put it low S. I think it's great. I think particularly the art.
If you're going to put it in S, don't put it as high as the other ones in S.
No, it's lower S. But I think particularly the art, David, is immaculate in this book. I think it's really good. Like, even better than some of the other classics we've already been through, and even the ones we've yet to go on for. So I would just say McGilligut's Pool, excellent book, excellent read. It kind of helps that I like the song too, so there's that. But I would say that McGilligut's Pool gets lower S. It's that good. So David, pick out our next one. We have a few weird ones in here too that we gotta go through.
let's go for Wacky Wednesday.
Wacky Wednesday, baby. Woo! I have no idea. Don't even remember reading this one. Did you ever read it as a kid?
I did, in fact.
Okay.
Yeah, Wacky Wednesday was one of the earlier Seuss books that I ended up reading as a kid. So, yeah, it's despite not having Seuss artwork, the artwork is pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's not bad.
I would say for not being Seuss, it's pretty darn good. The writing's fun. The story is fun.
Yeah.
It's not what I would call a stone cold classic by any means, but it's a fun book. I would probably tend towards lower B if I had to say.
Yeah, I wrote down in my notes, cute book. It has nudity though. Totally fine giving it a C. That's what I wrote down. You think lower B?
Yeah, lower B, high C, somewhere in there. It could be.
It's better than Cat in the Hat Comes Back, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
or better than One Fish, Two Fish? Or less than that then? I don't think it's as good as One Fish, Two Fish.
No.
So
low B, high C.
Low B, high C. Okay, we'll do that. Okay. Pick another one, David.
Let's see what do we got.
What do we got?
Let's do Happy Birthday to You.
Yeah, this one's a banger. This one's a good one. I don't know if it's as special as, say, the other ones. It's not, to me at least. But I would say Happy Birthday to You is a totally fine book. It's pretty great. I'm not going to lie. It's pretty good. It's quite bizarre, though. So, I don't know where to rank it, honestly. I think it's good.
I would rank it a lower A. Because for me, it hits the critical Seussian characteristic, which is fantastical locales that stoke the fires of imagination in young readers.
And it does it so well. Same thing with it really reminded me a lot of Places You'll Go. And I just had a good time reading it. I don't think it's as special. I understand why people call it really, people really, really hold this book in high regard. And I totally understand that. It's just not totally for me. I think A's totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's do ABC. Let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
So ABC, what do I have written down here? I think it's totally fine. It's nothing special. I need to find my notes. I'm looking through it. David, what? Oh, C. I think it's totally fine. C.
Yeah, C is probably good. There's not really much that can be said about this.
Yeah, it's fine. Totally okay. Your turn, David.
Let's do Bippalo Seed.
Okay, I have quite a bit to say about this, but let's see if we can see if we go through it. So, Bippalo Seed, did you get a chance to read all 6 short stories? Or just go over them at least? Because
I'm pretty sure I read them all. My memory of it is a little hazy.
It's okay.
But I'm pretty sure I read them all.
Yeah. Finally found my notes, but do you have anything to go off of from there? The Bippalo Seed, it basically is an omnibus of 6 short. Let's see. In the book that we have, it was described as a bunch of short comics or cartoons that were in newspapers around the country. The historian in this little book tracked them all down, who's a Seuss historian, and was able to get them all published in this omnibus, which includes 6 or 7, I think. Let's see, was it 7 short stories. I actually ranked them all individually. Do you want to go you want me to hear my ranking?
Sure, why not?
So Bippalo Seed, the first one, solid C, it's fine. The Rabbit and the Bear and the Zaniga is how I'm going to pronounce it. That's what it's called, David. The Rabbit, the Bear, and the Zaniga. I give it a D. It was the worst one out of the bunch. Gustav the Goldfish, which is actually another Seuss story in another published Seuss book that was adapted but it's not on our list. Tad and Todd, Steak for Supper, Strange Shirt Spot, The Great Henry McBride, which was my favorite one. I don't know. I give the whole book a C. I think it's fine.
Yeah, some of them are better than others.
Yeah.
So the whole thing, I think, comes out to about a C.
Yeah. The one about Henry McBride was pretty dang good. I would read it for that, as well as Tad and Todd was super adorable. I'm gonna put it right before Sneetches. What do you think?
Yeah. Why not?
Well, why not? All right, I'm gonna pick I Can Read With My Eyes Shut, which was an adapted kind of like a What Pet Should I Get scenario, as far as I know, where it was published after his death, I believe in the 80s or 90s. So what are your thoughts of I Can Read With My Eyes Shut, David?
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. It's got an imaginative story to it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't.
I think it's nothing to write home about, honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't
totally
call
okay.
it a stone cold classic.
Yeah.
Maybe like a low B.
Okay. I would. Yeah, it's definitely better than What Pet Should I Get? Oh wait, no, I'm looking at B.
Yeah, it's better than some of the C ones.
Really? Okay. I'm very surprised. Okay.
I'd put it probably around Wacky Wednesday.
Wacky Wednesday. Okay, we'll do that. Low B. I could make an argument myself to put it even lower, but I'm not really that committed to it. That's how much indifferent I am on it. So, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 left, David. So let's do Gertrude McFuzz. What are your thoughts on Gertrude
this one
McFuzz?
I didn't actually read.
Have you read it before, though?
I have read it before a long time ago.
Okay.
But I don't really remember it.
That's okay. I read it last night. Very, very short. It's a good story with a great lesson, actually. Very thoroughly enjoyable from beginning to end. Doesn't overstay its welcome. I'm going to say high C.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's... well, I'd say put it over Bipolo. Not as good as Sneetches. Well, nah, Sneetches is better. I think Sneetches has some more... I think it has a stronger message in it than Gertrude McFuzz. But yeah. Gertrude's also pretty dang good. So, your turn, David.
Let's see.
We still have some really good ones up there. We haven't done any of the Hortons yet.
Let's do Horton Hears a Who.
All right, Horton Hears a Who. Classic book. I don't know if it's as good. I think it's better. Okay, so what I will say about this, it's better than Green Eggs and Ham. But looking at our list, it's definitely not as good as like Happy Birthday to You. But I'm curious to what you see, or even the Lorax are up there too. I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent to the Lorax. So what do you think about it? I kind of don't know where to put it, but I know it's high.
So I would probably say low A for Horton Hears a Who.
Okay.
Because for one, it's pretty iconic. And two, it's a really well done story, with great illustrations that just it has a certain quality to it where it just like it makes you feel for the characters. And
there was a lot of thought, I think, put into this book. I mean, I think we mentioned it a little bit where Dr. Seuss had a very strong political opinion in the late 40s, early 50s.
I think you put the wrong one up there.
Oh, Horton has. Okay, yeah, no. We'll put that back down. Not that low, but right there. There we go. Yeah, so Horton Hears a Who. Pretty dang good book. I had a wonderful time rereading this. Enjoyable as an adult and a kid, and to a kid. Don't think it's as good as some of the really great ones like Grinch or anything.
No, for sure not.
Even though it probably has some of that notoriety, it's definitely better than Cat in the Hat.
Yeah, I would say too.
So I think anything else you have about Horton Hears a Who? Any facts or factoids or memories you have of this book? Or any of the books we've gotten so far? We're pretty much almost done.
No, nothing specifically about it.
Okay.
Like I said, it's
a good book.
There's not a whole lot. It's great, but there's not a whole lot to say about it.
Well, I think in terms of the message, yeah, but I think it's been talked about to death.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I think it's a good book.
Yeah, so. I don't have anything specific to say about it other than it's good and I like it.
I loathe that Fox and Socks probably has more notoriety than Horton Hears a Who. But I'm not going to get into it. I just hate Fox and Socks. So anyway, moving on. David, let's go. Bartholomew and the Oobleck. Did you read this one?
I did read this one, yes.
Oh, man. I got to say, I really like this book. It's not one of them rhyming ones, but it's a pseudo sequel to.
It is a sequel to Bartholomew Cup
and the hat
and the
one.
500 hats.
Yeah.
The 500 hats of Bartholomew Cubbins.
Yeah. And so I would hold it in pretty high regard. I'm looking at our list here. It has excellent storytelling. I wrote here, it's engaging all the way through, a fun time indeed, along with a valuable lesson in humility and saying, I'm sorry. I wrote down A. I think it belongs in the A tier. But what do you think? Do you want to go lower, higher even? I think Bartholomew Ubleck's pretty dang great.
For me, it's probably around the same as the first one. But also, I'm not like, I don't have such a strong opinion of it. So, like, just, wherever you want to put it.
I'll put it after Yertle, Turtle, and Thidwick. I think it's a pretty dang good message that kind of honestly overstays its welcome a little bit. I'm going to put it between Yertle and How Lucky You Are. I think it's that good.
All right.
A little better than 500 Hats of Bartholomew. Has a better message too. So let's go from there. All right, David, your turn.
All right, let's go with Oh, the Things You Can Think. Or
Okay.
Oh, the Thinks You Can Think.
Oh, the Things You Can Think. That's the opening song, by the way, to the Zeusical, by the way.
I didn't need to know that.
Oh, the things you can think. All the things you can think when you think about Zeus.
You're trying to besmirch my memories of a classic Zeus book, and I don't appreciate it.
Sorry. And I don't really have anything to say about this book. I think it's totally fine. Solid C.
I would put it in.
Yeah.
So if you're gonna,
I would just say C, but I can put it anywhere. Like it's I like it.
For me, I would have to put it in. I would have to put it at least an A.
Whoa, A. Okay.
So
okay. What does it mean to you?
It's one of the ones that I read as a kid, and it's one of the ones that really just the imagination of it just like really just like it's one of the books that just fed my imagination as a kid.
Yeah.
And so
it's a banger.
Like
it's a classic.
It doesn't have the same sort of moral message that some of the better ones might have, but just as far as just the wonder and imagination
yes.
that is Seuss, I think this one captures it.
It really is the poster child of the Zeusian flair. And in terms of all of his books, that is in every single one. And I think just because of that, it deserves to be honored in A, even though I personally don't have a connection to it. I think it's totally fine. But I'd agree. A is the right place. Do you think it's better than maybe Sleeper Super? What do you think? I'll let you put it wherever you want. This could be your oneer if you want.
I would probably put it between Scrambled Eggs and Sleep Book.
Okay, perfect. And that's one of the beginner books too, which we don't have that many in the higher up tiers. I think there's a reason, David, you've been avoiding Would You Rather Be a Bullfrog. So let's do Would You Rather Be a Bullfrog.
I
think
F.
just F. Well, let me look at my notes really quick because I wrote a D, but I want to see what my thoughts were. One Fish, Two Fish, Bartholomew, Fox and Socks. Fox and Socks. Man, I'm looking. Let's see. Bullfrog. I'm looking, David. I'm looking. Well, I can't seem to find my notes. Oh, I found it. Cute Kids Book, solid D. I'm going to put in F.
Yeah, I'll just say right now, I have a real disdain for the Seuss books, which were not illustrated by Dr. Seuss. Like, I have a real disdain for those. They just don't do it for me.
Even the P.D. Eastman stuff?
Well, that's not even a Seuss book.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the Seuss books.
The Seuss books.
The Seuss books that were not illustrated by Seuss.
Okay.
They just don't do it for me.
Okay, I get you.
10 Apples Up on Top is probably the most iconic of the bunch, and that is just not that great.
Yeah. Well, where do you want Bullfrog? Just an F tier?
Yeah, just an F somewhere.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. Let's do Hop on Pop, and then you can pick the next. So Hop on Pop. So, David, what's your opinion on them hopping on popping? Another rhyming one, which is kind of I don't know. What do you think?
Hop on Pop, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not offensive in any way. It's totally fine.
It's entertaining enough.
Yeah, it's like...
And Hop on Pop's one of the beginner books, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's as far as beginner books go, I'd say it's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about C?
Yeah, C is probably.
Yeah, I'd say C. I say it's better than Wacky. Is it better than One Fish, Two Fish?
No.
Nah, let's do Wacky Wednesday. Let's put it right in between.
Yeah, that's probably pretty good.
All right. What do we have left? We have 5 left. David, pick it. Oh, we have Hunches and Bunches too.
Let's do Hunches and Bunches.
Hunches and Bunches. Okay. So I did not know this book existed. In fact, I was very much put off by it when I found out about it because it looks weird. Is this the Marvin K. Mooney? No, that's a different one. Okay. Oh shoot, I don't think I wrote any notes about this. Hunches and Bunches. What do you think of it? Because I remember reading it and I was very put off by it. Where did I rank it? But
honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, I know I read it.
Yeah, I know I read it too. I just don't have any memory.
It doesn't really stick in my mind all that much.
I don't think I even wrote it down. I think it's just one I just flew through. Well, I remember I didn't like it very much. I'm gonna say D.
Yeah, that's probably
Let's put it
fair.
where D is. Let's put it after 10 apples. I don't think it's
I
as
don't
bad
know.
as that.
I would say it's better than it's worse than all of those because at least we can remember all the other ones.
Dude, I swear I read this one and I don't remember.
Yeah, I read it too.
I read it.
It's
I have
one of the
no
ones
memory of it.
It's one of the ones we got the PDF for.
Yeah, and I have no memory reading it. So like, that's so weird. Okay, so maybe it's not that memorable. So okay, next one, David.
Let's do I'm Not Gonna Get Up Today.
Yeah. Oh man. This book is perfectly okay.
Yeah.
It's I wrote down a C, but I would even put it in high D maybe.
Yeah, high D.
It's fine.
It's got that non-Seuss illustration, which really knocks it down for me.
I would agree because I don't think this really is a Seuss book in my opinion. I don't think it really belongs here. It feels like it was ghostwritten, to be quite frank. It doesn't feel like a Seuss book at all, except for maybe some of the ending stuff and the fantastical kind of things. It's not that great.
No.
All right, David. I'm gonna pick Marvin K. Mooney. Will you please go now?
All right.
I wrote down solid C. Oh, there was a funny thing I wrote down about the character Ned in it. Let's see if I can find it. Horton Here's a Who, If I Ran the Zoo. Great rhyming, terrible ending. Maybe it's okay. Solid C. It's fine. I enjoyed reading it. I just think the ending was horrible.
Yeah, it was kind of just ended abruptly.
It's one of those phone-in ones for me.
And there's not really, there's neither a beginning nor an ending.
Yeah, it's like you come in the middle of this confrontation between this little man and this giant who knows what
finger,
yeah. It's kind of like the Onceler's wife maybe is telling this guy to hit the hay.
And we have no
context
for any of it. And it just it does, I think, everything wrong that a Seuss book can do in terms of not having a good story, good rhyming. Oh no, I said great rhyming. It does have good rhyming, but it just doesn't hold a candle to anything else. So maybe D? Maybe C? I would put it in C just because the illustrations are pretty great.
They are pretty great. And they're pretty funny too. I love how he's just snob and standing there the whole time, and it's pretty funny. So let's do Horton Hatches the Egg, and then we'll end Circus.
All right. So this is one that the other one that I didn't read.
Okay.
So you're going to have to take this one.
All right. So where did we have Horton Here's a Who? So Horton Here's a Who's A. Horton Hatches an Egg. I wrote down here, this has a wonderful story with a good message about being faithful, although I think the message is a bit lost in the story, even though justice was served in the end. I like it actually better than Horton Here's a Who, just personally, but I think objectively speaking, it's probably a little less than that. So I'd put it probably in B.
That sounds good. I mean, I've read it before, but I just didn't read it for this
I would say it's better than Yertle Turtle.
Yeah.
Because Yertle Turtle's shorter. It's kind of like...
Yeah, that's probably...
I think that's fine. Like, it's not as good as Thedwick.
No, definitely not as good as Thedwick.
Yeah.
Thedwick's got that. Thedwick's got heart, man.
Got heart, man. You really connected with that one, huh?
Dude, I love a good anti-communist story. If there's anything that I love as much as capitalism, it's hating on communism.
It's hating on communism. Oh, man. Well, David, we only have one book left. So, and then we have some comments from some people actually to go over. So let's get it out of the way. If I Ran the Circus is probably one of the best ones out there. I personally think it's super stupendous. What an amazing read. This is what I wrote. Would highly recommend it. But where would you rate it, David? What do you think of this book?
I don't know if I would put it in the best of the best, but it is pretty great. I would agree it's pretty great. So at least an A.
I would agree. In terms of where we put it, though, here, let me grab it and throw it up here. I think it's better than Sleep Book, for sure. But is it better than Happy Birthday? I don't know.
I would say it's probably between Happy Birthday and Horton for me personally.
Okay. That's kind of where I went. So, all right. So that concludes our ranking. Let me go over real quick and say what we got in not Zeus tier. We have Put Me in the Zoo. In F tier, we have a book about me in a people house. Would you rather be a bullfrog and Mr. Brown can moo, can you? In number D, we have Hunches and Bunches, which me and David have no memory about reading because we know we both read it, but we have no memory of it. The atrocity known as the Foot Book. Oh, say, can you say? The abysmal disaster of Fox and Socks. 10 apples up on top. What pet should I get? And I am not going to get up today. That was D. David, go and take over the C category.
All right. So for C, we have Marvin K. Mooney, Will You Please Go Now? We have Dr. Seuss's ABC. We have Great Day for Up. We have Your Only Old Ones, which is with its wonderful ogling machine. I love that part so much. We have Maybe You Should Fly a Jet. Maybe You Should Be a Vet. We have There's a Walk-It in My Pocket. The Biblo Seed. Gertrude McFuzz, which I did not read for this, but I did read a long time ago. We got Sneetches. We got Cat Comes Back.
In our B tier, we have I Can Read With My Eyes Shut, Wacky Wednesday, Hop on Pop, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, The 500 Hats of Bartholomew Cubbins, The Butter Battle Book, Did I Ever Tell You How Lucky You Are, Bartholomew and the Oobleck, Yertle the Turtle, Horton Hatches the Egg, Thidwick, oh, Thidwick. And then we have Green Eggs and Ham and Cat in the Hat. That rounds off our B section. David, take over A.
So for A, we've got Horton Hears a Who. We've got If I Ran the Circus, Happy Birthday to You, Dr. Seuss's Sleep Book, Oh, the Things You Can Think, Scrambled Egg Super, and finally, of course, one of the Stone Cold classics, The Lorax.
Stone Cold classics. And for our S tier, some of the top pickings right here, this is probably, I'd say everything in A, David, and all the way up to SS is what we would recommend you buy, is probably what I would say.
Indeed.
So we have Miguel Gets Pool. We have On Beyond Zebra, a personal favorite of mine. Oh, the Places You Go, also a personal favorite of mine. And How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
All right. And then for SS tier, for our super spicy tier, we've got The Lovely and To Think That I Saw It on Mulberry Street.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, If I Ran the Zoo.
All right.
With its lovely racist depictions of Asian people.
Lovely is the word you use. Okay, I have some reader inquiries here, David.
Reader
inquiries. So I'm just going to read them off the top here. So we have a I asked them, the audience, what's your favorite Zeus book and why? The only thing Matt wrote in, and he said, Go Dog Go, of course. And that he didn't say why, but he just said, of course. Then we have, let me see, I'll go to Briando. Briando says Green Eggs and Ham. He says, why do most of his books rhyme? And what is the who And what is Whoville? Is the Lorax a man or a woman? We then have Heather, who writes in a very lengthy thing, but she says, hop on pop. It's very simple and easy to read. I like that it says a word or a few and then uses them in a sentence. Also, Dr. Seuss's ABC. Again, similar reason. It's great. It's a great first introductory book while being kooky and interesting. It sucks you into the beginning of the world of Dr. Seuss. An obvious and a classic. Man, she's going over all of them. She says Grinch Stole Christmas. She says it's overly long. She doesn't read it often. She also mentions Horton Hears a Who. And she says, with Horton Who is so odd and fun, but also inclusive, and because it is so wild and out there. She then writes, I also do not like Go Dog Go. The back and forth with a few of the dogs is very annoying, and it's ridiculously long book, and I get bored reading it. Oh, shout out to you, Heather. That's great. Sam wrote in. He says, I think the Thing 1 and Thing 2 books, the book is the best here. It's great how chaotic things can be when you don't pay attention. And he also says, I also love the past podcast. Well, thank you, Sam. And I think you're talking about Cat in the Hat. So Cat in the Hat is his favorite. Chris wrote in. He says, green eggs and ham because they made green eggs and ham for us in kindergarten when I was a kid. Then Horton Hears a Who and How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I'm not fully versed in the ranking, but I'm going to go with those. Thank you, Chris. Katie says, it's either Cat in the Hat because it was the first book I ever remember reading, or One Fish and Two Fish, because I remember reading that the most. Thank you, Katie. Angela says, Fish Out of Water, and the reason it's my favorite is because it's a morality tale about self-control. Okay. It's not a Zeus book, like Go Dog Go, but we'll allow it. It's also, by the way, the Fish Out of Water book is the same story that's in the Bipolo Seed. It's called Gus the Gustav Fish or whatever, but I think the non-Zeus version is better. With better illustration, too. Josh writes in, Yertle the Turtle, with a heart emoji. Elena then writes in, One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish, simply because I like the name and it actually gives a lot of nostalgia. I also really like the color scheme. It looks kind of nice. Nikki writes in, my opinion, the Lorax. I love how it relates to real-world issues, and it creates an idea for what industrialization is doing to our world and how money can influence people. I love how all the characters and the cute little animals. Mason writes in, Horton Hears a Who. It's cool. I like the characters and the storyline. Thad writes in, Sam I Am is my favorite. He means Green Eggs and Ham, because it is a terrible example of how to handle a narcissist.
That's pretty good.
Oh, and our final write-in is, Jacob writes in, Mr. Brown can moo, can you? Because it can be rapped and it's very catchy. Thanks, Jacob. And then I think I have Lexi here. Let's see, what does she say? Sorry, I have to scroll up here. Chelsea. Or no. What was it? Adelaide. Oh, God. She says, Fox and Socks, because memorizing and spouting the whole book without messing up was a fun routine challenge at 10 and 12 years old with my sister. She also says, also love the Cat in the Hat. He's a great babysitter and mentor that I would love to have as a kid. Well, I hope you're not going to have him watch your children. But
my God.
I sure hope that he'd definitely be fun when you're a kid. Chelsea writes in, she says, I don't know if I would... Well, wait, no, that was a different comment. My favorite Dr. Seuss story is Gertrude McFuzz. It's definitely the best poetry-wise for me. The only one I took to the time to memorize. Oh, that's interesting. Someone didn't even kind of cover that. People do kind of memorize these things too, which is good practice for kids. Anyway, also I completely understand why she hates herself. She says, all my life I've hated my own body and growing up always wished I was the status quo beautiful. Sorry to get a little too real here. She also mentions Hop on Pop is really great and she has wonderful memories of reading it with her grandma. And I think that is it. So those are all of our reader inquiries. Thank you, audience, so much for that. We really appreciate you. David, we have gone on and ranked majority.
The ones that matter.
The ones that matter of the Dr. Seuss books. You have any final words? You take a look at that list up here we got. Is there any final words you have to say about them? And what was your personal favorite?
I think I've said all that I can say about these books. Yeah,
what's your number one?
If I had to pick number one, absolute stone cold classic number one would have to be Probably Oh, the Places You'll Go.
Ooh, that's a really dang good book. Like, really good. I'm gonna say Mulberry Street, just because it was the first one I read, and it hit me really hard reading it as an adult, because I never read it as a kid. I'm gonna say Mulberry Street just because it has a very valuable lesson. It's also very simplistic starting out, and then it gets more complicated as you go. And even though it's one of his more earlier books, I just really like Mulberry Street. I can't really explain and articulate why, but it's really great.
It's a good one.
It's a good one. So.
And it's got that little yellow kid that eats with sticks. Can't beat that.
Can't beat that. Oh, and audience, we want to thank you so much for taking your time, your valuable time, to listen to us ramble and rank the Dr. Seuss books. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, and we'll see you on the flip side. And Snarp Fangle on.
Bye-bye now.